So what's in my camera bag? Well, today we're gonna find out, and I'm gonna show you my tried and true vlogging setup. I've done a great deal of A/B testing so that you don't have to. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get started. So I know vlogging is a broad term, right? So for some, vlogging may be stationary on a tripod at a desk, or it may be on the go, or you may be like me and it's a combination of the two at any given time. The first camera I really vlogged with was a camera I primarily used to film events with. So it wasn't really cut out to be a vlogging camera. It was the Panasonic S1. And due to the weight, size, and the lack of any really good vlogging lenses at the time, I kept vlogging stationary in controlled circumstances. And bear in mind throughout this video, I am not sponsored by any companies, so I'm not being compensated in any way. This is the gear I am using after rigorous stress testing with different equipment. One thing you learn very quickly when vlogging on the go is you can hit the gym 5 days a week and lift a respectable amount of weight with your arms. And yet vlogging and doing this all day, it will exhaust your arms. So this is where size and weight really come into play. So getting back to this bag, what's in it? Weighing in at 1.54 pounds, it's the Sony a7S III, which I had originally bought for other reasons having little to do with vlogging. Incidentally, this camera is really great at pretty much everything. Its lightweight, flip-out screen, rolling shutter performance, and dependable autofocus system are big pluses. The thing that could have been improved upon is in-camera stabilization, which is not nearly as efficient as Panasonic's in-camera stabilization. Generally, I film in S-Cinetone as it's a great out-of-the-box image that requires little else aside from minor color correction. Naturally, you need a wide-angle lens to vlog with if you're on the go. Of course, if you're filming stationary vlog shots, you have many more options. For instance, right now I'm stationary and I'm on the 35mm f1.8, but I could just as easily be on a 50mm lens or an 85mm given I have enough space. So for general purposes, the 20mm f1.8 is my go-to lens for vlogging. The lens is wide enough to use active stabilization on this camera, which crops in significantly to mitigate shaking. The lens also features minimal distortion even as a wide-angle lens, and although there is some focus breathing, it's manageable. It also weighs at 0.82 pounds, so together with the a7S III, we're looking at about 2.36 pounds. Now that we have discussed the camera and the lens, it's time to discuss neutral density filters. After all, filming in the daytime can be problematic if you don't have one of these. These filters go on the end of the lens and reduce light going into the camera. Neutral density filters are great because they allow for more flexibility when filming outdoors and daylight. I recommend the Peter McKinnon Variable ND Mist 2 edition, as the filter not only reduces light going into the camera, but it also adds a softer look to footage. And when vlogging, you may like this diffused look because even on a non-G Master lens like the 20mm f1.8, the image is oftentimes too sharp. The 67mm version of this filter weighs in at 0.09 pounds, bringing us to 2.45 pounds altogether between the a7S III, the 20mm f1.8, and this Peter McKinnon Variable ND filter. If you don't have a Variable ND filter, remember you can always crank up the shutter speed to reduce light coming into the camera, and the maximum shutter speed on the a7S III is 1/8000. Now be advised, if you do crank up the shutter speed and if you do move around rapidly, this may cause motion blur in the image. So now that we have the camera, the lens, and a Variable ND filter, what do we stick it on? Finding a mini tripod that extends sufficiently and handles a 2.45 pound payload is a little tougher than you think. I came to realize either I would find a mini tripod that could handle heavy payloads with ease, but didn't really extend sufficiently, or it would be the opposite, and the mini tripod would extend sufficiently, but it would falter in the load-bearing department. Meet the Ankar Nebula. It extends enough to get a wide image. You can see plenty of background, and there's even a little extra room so I can film with active stabilization on. And when it comes to stabilization, I know there is Catalyst Browse that, look, in my view, is more efficient add footage stabilization, but it also requires more time in post to really get the desired result. And usually active stabilization does the job if I mind my steps. So one thing we haven't talked about yet is audio. I've used shotgun mics and wireless systems in the past on projects. When it comes to vlogging, I have learned to really appreciate float audio on the Tentacle Sync system. If you're not familiar with float audio, it basically allows for infinite headroom, so your audio does not distort like a traditional mic. I usually use these on projects, but as I already own these, I use these on vlogging too. And I find the only drawback to using Tentacle Sync is the extra step in post, as it's not being recorded directly onto the footage, as it would be with a traditional shotgun mic. And that concludes what is in my bag. After covering the FX6 and firmware 2.0 extensively, I really wanted to focus on something else, and something that you all may find useful. And if you did find this video useful or insightful, give a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment below, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one.